I don't know if you saw me whispering something to Deacon Tim. He's doing something for me right now. It was somewhere around the time that the psalm was being sung and Cliff's cell phone was going off, right in that particular time frame there, that I looked down and I thought, Rut-row, there was an option today of wearing a different color vestment, and in our confusion, trying to figure out if we were going to have a priest this morning or not, I forgot to put it on, so I just asked him to go get it for me. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick little change here, okay? There's a cross here that the priest usually gives a little reverential kiss to before he puts the stole on. So there we are. Okay, I feel better. I was mentioning before Mass that today in my homily at the Masses which I was going to have, I was going to give him L. And somebody said, are you going to pound the pulpit when you do that? And I said, no, you misunderstood me. I said, I'm going to give them L, like in the letter L. Like in Lent, like in learning, like in Laetare, not like in... There's one Sunday during Lent, and there's also a Sunday during Advent, where we take a break from the usual color of vestment. And of course, you know what color vestment we wear all during Advent and all during Lent, or most of all of Lent and all of Advent. You know what color that is? Hello? Is anybody, we all during Advent and all during Lent, we wear a particular color, and it's, yeah, that's what I usually say too. But in the official book, it says violet. I always say purple, but violet is a certain shade of purple that we wear during Advent and during Lent. But there's one Sunday during Advent and one Sunday during Lent when we wear another color, and that color is? See, you're arguing with each other, weren't you? We usually say pink. In the official book, it says rose. Now, this one's more like salmon, which is not a bad color for Lent either, is it? But there's one Sunday during Advent and one Sunday during Lent where we take a break from the purple/violet and we wear the pink/rose. Now, in our Catholic way of referring to that Sunday during Lent and the Sunday during Advent, we put a Latin word with them because of the entrance antiphon for the Mass on that particular day. One of them is Gaudete and one of them is Laetare. Now, do you know which one's which? Aha. Somebody say what, sister? Gaudete is Advent, and you said L is Connor and Claire. Connor and Claire's grandpa says it's Laetare is during Lent. Okay, he's right. You're right. Everybody's right. But I always got confused as to which one. I knew that the third Sunday of Advent was a pink/rose day, and that the fourth Sunday of Lent was the same kind of break in the violet-purple. But I could never figure out which one was which without looking in the book. And I mentioned that. I made the mistake of mentioning it to Father Cordier up at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. And he said, it's easy. Okay, how is it easy? He said, Laetare and Lent, they both have an L in it. And I said, oh my goodness. So here I am, 40 years a priest. And the whippersnapper is teaching me something about church liturgy. But it works, doesn't it? If you're wondering, you probably don't ever. I mean, it's not one of the biggest things in your life. I know that, whether it's Laetare or Gaudete Sunday today. But it's Laetare because there's Lent. There's an L in both of them. And if you really want to know how complicated my mind is, I said, yes, L has an L, Laetare has an L in it like Lent does, and Gaudete has no L in it, which makes you think of Noel, of Christmas, and Advent's before Christmas. But that complicates it more than it really needs to be done. Anyway, today is Laetare Sunday. It's fun, isn't it? Here I am, 40 years a priest, and I just learned how to know whether it's Gaudete or Laetare. It's fun, isn't it, on occasion to learn something that you figure you should have known all along? It's fun, isn't it, to learn something that it dawns on you and said, I should have thought of that all this time, and I never thought about that. Another example. I was driving a rental car not long ago because my car got smashed and was in the shop getting its door fixed and all that sort of stuff. And I needed to take the car back to the rental depot with the gas tank full. I never understand why you have to do that, but that's what they want you to do. So I was doing that. Pulling at a gas station, my big question was, on what side of the car is the gas tank? I had no clue. Now, the guy sitting in the front pew with me in my car, the front seat of the car there, he said, well, that's easy. Oh no, here we go again. He said, it's easy to figure it out. And I said, well, how do you figure it out? He said, look at your dashboard. I said, I'm looking at the dashboard. And he said, do you see a little image, a little icon, a little symbol with a gas pump? And I said, yeah. And he said, is there an arrow by it? And I said, yes. And he said, which way is it pointing? And I said, that way. He said, your gas tank's on that side of the car. Did you ever know that? You did. You didn't. Yeah, it's there. On the newer cars, there's a little icon of a gas pump, and it's got an arrow on it, either to the right or to the left. So if you're ever in a rental car and wondering, or driving somebody else's car and you're putting gas in it, you'll know what side the gas tank is on. I have no clue what they do when the gas tank is in the back. But it works. I never knew that. I've been driving for 50 years now and never knew that. But it's fun, isn't it, once in a while, learning something that you think that you should have known all along. And you just learned it. And to rejoice in it, that's the key. To rejoice in knowing something, learning something, seeing something that you've never seen before, that you're pretty convinced that you should have been able to see a long time ago. The trick is in rejoicing. Do you know how I know I was not rejoicing over the fact of learning that about the gas tank? Because I went to tell somebody about this image of a pump on the dashboard, and as soon as I started, the person said, yeah, I know. And I got irritated. So I was not rejoicing in the fact that I had learned something that I should have known a long time ago, because I went to another person. I said, do you know about how I can tell? Yeah, there's an image. I got madder and madder until I finally found somebody that didn't know. So I was not rejoicing over the fact that I had learned something that I should have known a long time ago. I was looking to find somebody who was dumber than I was. But how good it is once in a while to find out something, to learn something, to know something that you've never known before that you think you should have known all along. Watch a child learning things. When a child learns something, you don't see a look of disappointment on their face, as if they should have caught on to this some time ago. They're just absolutely thrilled that they have just learned something that they didn't know before. Now, how's this going to fit together with Lent and Laetare? There's another L. It's learning something. Did you notice in the first reading with, wasn't it Samuel and Jesse and David? Okay. That they were all thinking they had God figured out. And God was seeing something that they had not yet seen. Jesse knew for sure which of his sons would be anointed the king, but he was wrong. I would suspect that when Samuel finally figured out from God that it was Jesse's unlikely son that should be anointed the king, I suspect that the prophet Samuel and the father Jesse and the boy David and all of his kin, they all learned something about God that they never knew before. And they said, why didn't it dawn on us that God might be seeing things differently than we see them? We should have known that a long time ago. And I bet the prophet and the father and the son and all the kin, that they learned something about themselves at that moment that maybe they had never known about themselves before. There may have been some sibling rivalry that the other children began to feel. Now, if we can rejoice at that kind of stuff, if we can rejoice over seeing something the way that God sees something about God, if God can show us something about himself during this Laetare week, during Lent, if we can learn something about God that we've never known about God before, or know something a little bit different about God, then we should rejoice and not be disappointed in ourselves that we didn't know it a long, long time ago. Or to know something about yourselves. Or to know something about life. Maybe this week, during this Laetare week, we can ask God to teach us something about himself that maybe we've never known, that we might be convinced we should have known a long time ago. Or to show us something about life. The man who was able to see in the gospel, he saw life differently, didn't he? And he probably saw something about himself that he'd never seen before. And certainly he saw something about the Jesus who was standing in front of him that he had never known before either. Maybe during this Laetare week, during Lent, we will be able to see something about God, see something about ourselves, see something about life that we've never seen before. And if it's something that you're convinced that you should have known it a long time ago, do not be disappointed, as I would be disappointed in myself. Rejoice in it. So, you've just been given L. Lent, Laetare, learn. You put all three of those things together, you will not end up being a loser. It's my best attempt. What do you do? Come on, let's stand and pray.